Today, we take a closer look at the archival photography project in Regent Park, a visual journey capturing the neighborhood's transformation over the decades. This initiative, led by local residents and the Focus Media Arts Center, documents not just the physical redevelopment of Regent Park, but also the personal stories of the people who call it home. In this interview, we hear from two key contributors, Tyrone McLean Wilson and photographer David Zapparoli, who reflect on the importance of preserving community history through photography. Let's explore how their work is helping to shape the narrative of Regent Park's past, present, and future.
So my name is Tyrone. I've been a resident of Regent Park for a long time. I started at Focus Media Arts Center a long time ago when I was a participant as a youth, and I was introduced to their program through the photography program and the magazine program.
My name's David Zapparoli. I'm a photo-based artist. I lived in Regent Park between 1973 and 1984, and I did a documentary project. I photographed Regent Park from 1988 to 1999, and I photographed Regent Park to kind of bring out the part of Regent Park, or the side of Regent Park, that people were less familiar with. You know, Regent Park had a very notorious reputation, as you probably know, and I felt that I had a role in perhaps expanding the impressions and the attitudes about Regent Park in general. And so that's the way I approached the project, really concentrating on the people of the community and covering various personal stories within the community. So that's, and I've done other photography as well, obviously, and I've done a little bit of video work as well. So I guess that's me in a nutshell.
So we recently put together all of our photography from all the different projects we had over the years, taken by different participants, residents from Regent Park, and we've put sort of a collage on the wall of all of the works that they have done throughout the years, from the 90s all the way to pretty recent, since the beginning of the redevelopment of Regent Park.
Now, the photography project that you guys are doing now, I think, is more about Regent Park present day, and perhaps the stories that are, the people and the stories that are occurring now and so on, and perhaps things around the redevelopment. So that kind of predates me. I'm a throwback to before then, before the year 2000, basically, is my history with Regent Park. A little bit afterwards, but mostly pre 2000.
So the Focus Gallery here, the photography, is a collection of many different projects throughout the years that we've done with the youth. Some of them interview different residents and their history coming to Canada and to Regent Park. And some of them are photography that sort of captures the very first phases of the redevelopment.
Well, yeah, the history of some of the older photographs, they would be in black and white. What I did in the late 1990s was that, with a group of program participants from Focus, I handed out old film cameras, or we collected old film cameras, and we shot black and white film. And I gave some basic instruction around how to take photographs, things to look for, the approach that would get individuals the best results, the most satisfying results, and the most informative kind of photographs. I remember talking about things like how to frame a photograph. If you want to get photographs that are impactful, I found that it was important to make sure that that you're close enough to the subject. I kind of emphasize that the further away you are from the person you're photographing, the less engagement that you're going to have from the viewer. So what you want, if you want to engage the viewer, you've got to try to get close enough so that you get a feeling for the person, their identity, who they are, what they do, that kind of thing. So that the framing was important. and also the storytelling aspect of photography. What is it that you're trying to say? How much information can you get across to the viewer in one photograph? So these are some of the challenges that we approached in the photography that I did with the youth. The other thing that we did is that we did some darkroom work as well. The darkroom work was, I think, new to most of the participants. It involved taking the negatives that you got from the cameras and then actually printing them in the darkroom. So of course this is very different from what we have today, in that the digitally produced images are done usually with the help of a computer, and you would go online, or no, you wouldn't have to go online, but you would go and upload your photographs and be able to work on them using, you know, Lightroom or Photoshop and that sort of thing. So it was interesting in that the youth got to use the chemistry and the enlargers that involved in actually producing the photographs. That's I think one of the big differences from what you guys are doing today.
One of the first projects that I was personally involved in was the documenting of the Phase 1 revitalization of Regent Park. And we were invited by TCHC to go through the construction sites, put on our hard hats and steel toe boots, and go around and take photos of the buildings as they were coming down. And that was quite an experience as a resident too, to sort of see things that were part of your childhood upbringing kind of coming down and not knowing what was going to come up in its place. So I think it was really important for us to document that first moments of the redevelopment.
I got involved with Focus Media Arts back in the 90s. After Focus started up, I got to know Adonis, and he was doing pretty much exclusively video back then, and I helped him with some of his videos. I think I was an actor in some of his videos that he did, and it just our relationship kind of evolved from there. And eventually, I helped out with some of the photography because I was at that time, even though I was working for another organization in Regent Park, I was still doing my own photography all the time, and we'd run into each other. I'd be taking photographs and so on, and it just seemed like a natural that I would eventually. And I helped out with the Regent Park newspaper. There was a Regent Park paper that was independent of the Focus Media Arts Center at the time, and I helped out with that. But I also did work with Focus Media Arts when they started up their own newspaper, and I kind of helped out a little bit with that, and I helped them set up a dark room that they had going here for a while when they had it at 600 Dundas Street. So yeah, that's pretty much how things evolved.
So most of the photos, if not all, are taken within the Regent Park area and surrounding neighborhoods and schools. And so it spans from around the early 2000s to pretty recent.
You see, that's the thing. I was more pre-redevelopment. So the way I saw it is that it was important for me to document Regent Park in the 90s and maybe up to 2001. And I made a decision that, photographing Regent Park for 10 years was a long time. And when the redevelopment started, I was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. I kind of felt I needed a break from doing that kind of work, documenting Regent Park. And I thought I'd hand the baton off to the younger generation and let them continue to document life in Regent Park as it is today, post redevelopment. And that's not to say that I won't do any more photography in the new Regent Park. I can see myself doing some, and I have done a little bit, but it's been just very occasional, and most of it has been done with my phone. So I've gone to the digital side really, and changed my approach.
So as we recently moved to the Daniels Spectrum from our old location, we went through all of the different photography that we had taken over the years and realized we have quite a collection. So we decided to actually put that up on the wall here and show everyone the sort of the history of Regent Park through the lens of the youth at Focus. And so as you can see, some of them, we just gave them cameras and they went out and collected different photos of like their neighbors and just things that people are doing day to day. And going through just the different things that are going on in Regent Park day to day at that time before the beginning of the revitalization.
It's important because it can document a place and a time that we forget. I mean, we can't rely on our memories to remember how things look, you know, how things looked 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Photography has given us an ability to do that. But it's also can be used for interpreting the world around us. Sometimes we think that it's just showing us the way life is, but the photographer can also give their own perspective on a place, a time, and a person just by the way they use their camera, just by the way they place it, the way they frame the subject. So besides being a wonderful tool to record things, it's also a tool of interpretation. And I think it's fascinating the way one person can photograph something completely different from the way another person photographs it. Yeah, I'm kind of a history geek. So I really enjoy looking at old photographs and finding out how life used to be. And we're doing that same service for the people that are going to be coming in the future, right? We're doing a wonderful service to them and showing them how life is present day. But photography for me is also, I've also manipulated it in certain ways that is fascinating. So I don't believe that photography is necessarily there just to record. It can also be manipulated and used as a wonderful art form as well. So yeah, love photography, always will.
Another project that I was part of was called Journey Home, which we actually developed the photos ourselves through the dark lab photography at Focus, which was called the David Zapparoli Studio for Photography. And some of those photos are actually here. We've printed out, they're positives. And some of these I worked on here. We talked about the stories of how people came to Canada and Regent Park and sort of just documenting them through photography. So the photos that I think that stand out most for me personally when I see the galleries, all the stuff we documented many years ago in 2006 when the revitalization first happened and the very first buildings were coming down, because we didn't know what the future of Regent Park would look like. And so it was kind of like an unknown kind of time, and so some people were kind of concerned, some were excited.
One of my more recent projects has been to self-publish this book on street photography. And basically it is a collection of 100 of my best images from the last 40 years. And I think it kind of illustrates my approach to street photography, or documentary photography, as it's more formally called, in, I guess, 100 pages. And I'm proud of it because I think it shows, yeah, it's essentially important in that I think it shows a good overview of basically the work that I do and my approach to photography in general.
Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow us on our social media platforms and visit our website.